everyone, and welcome back to our Mystery Friday video. Today your Mystery Friday video is with me, Miss David, and we are going to be looking at doing some science. Now I think this is a really fun science activity for us to do because it is about one of my favourite topics in science, which is animals. So in our science lesson today, let me just get our PowerPoint up. We're going to be looking at animals, and at the end of this session, I'm going to give you a little bit of a project to do, kind of like what I did with history, except I've got some more specific parameters that I would like you to follow. So like a list of things I would like you to include in your project. Okay, but we'll talk about the project at the end. For most of this video, what I'm going to do is talk about some language and some vocabulary you're really going to need for your project. I'm going to walk you through some things you might have heard of before, but we didn't really get a chance to do this in school, and this would have been something we would have been doing over our summer term. And I've condensed it down a little bit so that when you go up into year 2, this won't be a new subject for you. You will have some things that you already know. So I'm going to walk you through the vocabulary. But we're going to be talking about lots and lots of different types of animals today. And the first thing we're going to talk about is some of the ways we can group animals. So we tend to split animals into groups when we're talking about them. And the reason that we do that is because different kinds of animals have different kinds of features. And some of these features are the same. So if they all can swim in the ocean, we will group them together. And if they can all fly, we group them together. And that helps us to start to understand animals a little bit better and understand how they work and what they have in common and what is different. So here are some groups that we split animals into. We split animals into mammals, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and fish. Those are just some of the ways that we split animals. There's even more than that, but we're going to focus on these 5 groups today. So the first group I'm going to talk about are mammals. And here's a fun fact. We are mammals. So we are part of this group. And I will talk about the animals that are also considered mammals, but you can see some of them in those pictures. So other animals that are considered mammals are the blue whale, humans, cats, dogs, elephants, bats, dolphins, and what connects all these mammals are in that little list down the middle. So mammals all have hair. Yes, that's right. Even those blue whales and dolphins, they have hair too. Their hair is a lot finer, so there's not so much of it. But it's still on the surface of their skin. They've still got hair. And we all have hair. Not as much as, say, a dog or a cat, who are covered in fur from head to foot. But we all have some type of hair. We also all have lungs to breathe. So if you are a mammal, you all have lungs and you breathe air only. So you can only breathe air. Which is why when we're swimming in the water, we have to hold our breath because we can't breathe in water. And it's the same for blue whales and dolphins. Even though they live in the water, they have a hole near the top of their head where they breathe, and they have to come up. Although they can hold their breath for longer than us, they still have to come up to the surface to breathe air. They can't breathe underwater. So mammals can either live on land or in the ocean. They tend to live on one or the other. Okay, so we have things that are like blue whales and dolphins that are mammals that live in the ocean. And then we have things like humans and cats and dogs that live on land. We can kind of swim in the water, but obviously we don't live in the water. We wouldn't choose to do that because obviously we can't survive there. We aren't built to survive there. Mammals either have no legs or have 4 legs. That's right. Even humans are thought to have 4 legs. It's just that we call our our front legs, arms, and we have hands. But we still technically have 1, 2, 3, and 4 legs. Although these are our arms. That's what we call them. We call our front ones, our front two, our arms. Okay? We are also all warm-blooded. So when I say warm-blooded, what I mean is we keep the same body temperature. So whether it's hot or cold, our internal body temperature, how hot or cold we are, stays the same. We might feel hot or cold, but inside our body, our temperature stays the same. Also, all mammals have live babies, which means they don't lay eggs or have them any other way. They give birth to live babies that start walking around and, swimming and everything. Even as little babies, even though we can't walk, we're not born in an egg, is essentially it. So, our next group that we split animals into is amphibians. And here are some pictures of some amphibians. We've got some frogs on the one side. We've got that blue frog, that's a poisonous frog. And then we've got a toad, which is that one in the middle. We also have a newt at the top, which is the orange one. And we have a salamander, which is the black and yellow one. Now, there are lots of different colours of these and lots of different species of these. These were just some pictures I found. But frogs, toads, newts, and salamanders are all different types of amphibians. Okay, and the thing about amphibians that makes them different from mammals is that they can live in the water and on land. So it doesn't matter where they are, they can live in both. Okay, they also lay eggs. So they lay their eggs in or near the water, kind of like frog spawn. You find frog spawn inside the water. When they are first born, amphibians are born with gills, but as they get older, they develop lungs so that they can breathe on land. So that's really important. In order to breathe on land, you need to have lungs. But amphibians can have gills or lungs. Well, amphibians have gills and lungs, sorry. They have gills and lungs, which mean they can swim in the water and live on land. Okay, most amphibians have 4 legs. But there are some that don't have any legs. Okay, they also have smooth skin. Sometimes we talk about it being slimy. Okay, and they are cold-blooded, which means if it's hot, they get really hot. And if it's cold, they get really cold. They are really affected by the temperature of what is outside. And that means that when it's really, really cold, they hibernate for the winter. And when it's really, really hot, they find cool places to go so that they don't get too hot. Okay. The next group that we separate into are birds. Okay, and around that picture, I've got lots of different types of birds. I have ostriches and penguins and pelicans and peacocks and chickens and toucans and herons and pigeons. These are all different types of birds. Now, birds can look all different ways. They can be different sizes, they can be different colours, all different kinds of things. But birds all lay eggs. They all lay eggs. They all have beaks, feathers, 2 legs, and 2 wings. However, this is important, not all of them can fly. So, for example, ostriches can't fly, but instead they run really, really fast. And if you see a picture or a video of an ostrich running, they're really quick. And penguins, for example, they're not even really good at walking. And they can't fly at all. But penguins are really good swimmers. So although they can't really walk properly, they sort of do that waddle. And although they can't really fly, and in fact that they can't fly, they are excellent swimmers. So not all birds can fly, but they all have wings. That's really important. They all have lungs and breathe air. So they all need to breathe air. Even though penguins swim in the water, they still need to come up for air. They can't stay down there forever. Okay? And birds, like mammals, are also warm-blooded, which means they maintain the same internal body temperature. Okay. The next group we can split animals into are fish. Okay, so I've got some pictures of different kinds of fish around the outside. Now, we talked about how some animals that live in the sea are mammals. Fish only live in water. These are the kinds of animals that are fish. Sharks are fish. Pufferfish. There's a sunfish there. A clownfish. A whale shark. Tuna. A blue tang, and a goldfish. And these are all different kinds of fish. Okay, so how we group those fish together, what they have in common is that fish don't have legs. They can't walk anywhere. They live in water only, and they don't breathe air. They have gills on the side of their necks that help them breathe underwater. Fish lay eggs, but their eggs are quite soft. They mostly lay eggs, but their eggs are quite soft. They're not hard like birds' eggs. They all have scales, even when they first come out of the egg, and they are all different sizes. I mean, look at the size of the shark, and then look at the size of the goldfish. Goldfish are tiny. Sharks are huge. They're massive. Okay, so those are different kinds of fish. Okay. So our next group are reptiles. So different kinds of reptiles that are in the pictures there are crocodiles, turtles. Turtles live on land. Tortoises live in the water. Or is it? No, it's the other way around. Tortoises live on land. Don't listen to me. Tortoises live on land and turtles live in the water. I always get that the wrong way around. No matter the fact that I have a friend who looks after tortoises, I still get that the wrong way around. So tortoises live on land, turtles live in the water, but they're both reptiles. Okay? Chameleons are a reptile. Down the bottom there is an adder snake. Now, an adder snake is a snake that we have in the UK. It is the only poisonous snake that we have in the UK. There is a slow worm. He's a kind of reptile. You might see slow worms out and about on your walks. And there is also a picture of a python. And these are all reptiles. And what they have in common and why they're grouped together is, first of all, dinosaurs were also reptiles. The coolest. Dinosaurs were reptiles. Some reptiles have 4 legs. But some have no legs. I mean, look at the snakes. They've got no legs. They're not running anywhere. So they do that wiggly movement. They have dry, scaly skin. So unlike the amphibian, who has wet, smooth skin, reptiles have dry, scaly skin. Okay? Some give birth to live young, like mammals, but some lay eggs. Tricky. So some give birth to live young, some lay eggs. Okay? They are cold-blooded, like amphibians, which means when it's really hot, they lay out in the sun and they sometimes find cool places. But when it's really, really cold, they hibernate. So they go and sleep through the winter months. Okay? They like to hang out by water to cool down. So when it's really, really hot, they will go and lay near cool water. They all have lungs and all breathe air. That's right, even crocodiles and turtles that live in the water, they still have to breathe air. Okay, so now that you've learnt about those, I am just going to say that on BBC Bitesize, they've got some really, really great videos about these that will reinforce, and there's some games you can play around them that links to the animal topic that you can I'll upload it to Teams, so you'll just be able to go find the PowerPoint and copy and paste that link. Or you can just type in BBC Bitesize, Key Stage 1 topics. I use these videos all the time in class when we're teaching this topic. They're really useful, and they've really got some great interactive games to just reinforce this learning. So the next way we can group animals is by what they eat. Okay, so we group animals into 3 other groups, which is carnivores, herbivores, and omnivores. And I'm going to explain the difference between carnivores, herbivores, and omnivores. Now, this is really tricky, and you have to research really well the animal for your project later, because as I discovered when trying to find out which animals were which, some animals that you assume are carnivores are actually omnivores, and some animals that you assume are herbivores are actually omnivores. So you've really got to research what your animal eats. Okay, this is really tricky, and there are some surprising animals in these groups. So when we're talking about carnivores, omnivores, and herbivores, we're talking about what animals eat. So carnivores, we're going to start with carnivores first. I wonder if you can look at the animals and tell me what you think carnivores eat. You're right. Carnivores are animals that feed on other animals. So they are animals that only eat meat. So they only eat meat. They won't be eating any plants. They don't eat their vegetables. They only eat meat. And that meat comes from other animals. So animals that are carnivores in the pictures around are lions, tigers, but not bears. So lions, tigers, wasps. Wasps are carnivores, and they even eat other wasps. Okay, polar bears are carnivores. They're actually one of the few bears that will only eat meat. So they are one of the few that are carnivores purely. Because as I said, carnivores means they only eat meat, and I will explain why when we get to the omnivores. Blue whales are carnivores. They eat octopuses and squid. Sharks are carnivores. They eat other fish. They eat penguins. They eat seals. Hyenas, they are also carnivores. They tend to scavenge, so they tend to follow lions around or other meat eaters and eat whatever is left over. Seals are also carnivores. They eat fish. And wolves are also carnivores, and they have a diet of mostly meat. Well, not mostly, in fact, only meat. Okay, so these are all carnivores, which means they only eat meat, which means they eat other animals. Okay, so here are some animals that are herbivores. Herbivores are animals that feed only on plants. So herbivores are animals that only eat plants. And some examples of some herbivores here are deer, koala bears, elephants, horses, camels, donkeys, cows, sheep, rhinos, giraffes. These are animals that only eat plants. Okay, that's all they eat. And then we move on to our third group, and this is our group. Okay, when we are grouped based on what we eat, we are grouped into omnivores. So omnivores are animals that eat meat and eat plants. Okay, so we feed on other animals where we get our meat from, and we also eat plants. So humans are omnivores, pigs are omnivores, flamingos are omnivores, squirrels are omnivores, pandas are omnivores. I know, pandas. But pandas are omnivores because they've actually been known to eat rodents and lizards and things. I know. I googled pandas and I was like, well, obviously they're a herbivore, and they're not, which is why you have to double check what your animal eats, because sometimes they surprise you. Squirrels are omnivores. They eat meat and plants. So although they eat things like nuts, they also eat insects. And that's really important to note. If they eat insects, so things like spiders or bugs, okay, that makes them eat meat. Okay, so that means that they're eating meat. So squirrels, dogs, because dogs can eat meat, but they can also eat vegetables. Bears, because bears will eat fish, but they will also eat things like berries and plants. Hedgehogs, because they also eat things like little lizards and also eat plants. Chickens, I know, very surprised at chickens. Chickens will eat things like seed, but they will also eat things like lizards and rodents, which means things like mice. And then orangutans. Orangutans also, like humans, because we're closely related, also eat meat and plants. So omnivores are animals that eat plants and meat. Carnivores only eat meat, herbivores only eat plants, and omnivores eat both. Okay? Again, I'm going to just direct you to that BBC Bitesize website. They have a really great video on this that just reinforces that information. And then, again, they also have some games linked to this that are really, really useful. So, what am I talking about when I'm asking you to do a project? Now, those of you who are in year 2 might possibly remember that when they were in year 1 with me, I once asked them to do a homework where I asked them to choose an animal and to research about it and create their own mini project. I'm kind of asking you to do something similar, but this time I've got a list of things that absolutely need to be included in your project. Okay, so you can choose any animal. I will give you complete free range, but I would like it to either be a mammal, an amphibian, a reptile, a bird, or a fish. So it can be any animal from those. Okay, and what I want you to do is I really want you to create this project. I really want you to spend some time on this, because I would like you to have a picture of your animal. I would like you to have the name of your animal. Okay, I want you to write whether or not your animal is a mammal, amphibian, fish, reptile, or bird. I want you to write about what your animal eats, and is it an omnivore, herbivore, or carnivore? Okay, what does your animal look like? Okay, so I want you to talk about its structure. So how many legs has it got? Does it have fur? Does it have wings? What's its skin like? You know, I want you to really think about and describe your animal really clearly, okay? And I want you to talk about what makes your animal, unique, okay? And then I want 2 fun facts about your animal, okay? They can be anything. Anything that you didn't know about your animal, something that you think is really interesting, okay? I want you to be as wild and as creative as you can. As I say, this PowerPoint and this video will also be on Teams as well as YouTube. Okay, so if you want to go back to look at the list for your animal project to check that you've got everything on it before you share it, okay, it will be on Teams under video lessons. I would love to see all the creative things that you do. And as I said, please go and have a look at BBC Bitesize's science topic on animals for Key Stage 1, because they've got some great videos that are actually quite funny, and also some really great things like quizzes and games that you can play linked to animals. Okay, I really, really cannot wait to see the wonderful and magical things you do with this project. I'm so excited. Okay, so I will see you soon on Teams. Bye!